Welcome again to the Talking Pictures podcast with hosts Tony Toscano, CiCi Chambers, and Raquel Baldwin Horton.
Hi, and welcome to the Talking Pictures podcast. I'm Tony Toscano.
I am CiCi Chambers.
And I think I'm still Larry Nimicheck.
You are.
Okay.
And Larry Nimicheck not only is a great Trek historian, he's a terrific guy, a hell of a dancer, and one of the best flapjack makers you'll ever meet.
Waiters.
Tip your waiters. How long have I known you? It's got to be 20
It was
years.
the mid-90s.
Mid-90s. We were both,
like
the world was very
96.
new. We were young men.
The world was young. The world was new.
But somehow, through it all, we came together and then launched ships to space. And I think that's a great idea for the future.
Well, it's funny to me how, like, the 60s was Vietnam and all the issues that, the eco movement was just getting going, and race relations, and so many issues and problems. Will we kill ourselves? Will we kill the planet? And then the 90s seemed to get a little cushy, and, Next Generation had carpet up the walls and a therapist on the bridge, and people would make fun of that, although they were cool concepts. But it's now we've gone back to, well, I mean, we laugh about that, but,
think of how many people were saved when vans rolled over with the carpets on the walls.
Yeah, I had that in my van.
The water kind of cushioned, the water bed in the back kind of cushioned the fall, too. But
The water bed.
Oh, they didn't call it shag carpet for nothing, But we've gone back to this, dystopian post-Holocaust type, Walking Dead and all those as dramatic storytelling vehicles, and now it's come back around to where, oh my God, little Star Trek's optimism is now appealing, and it's not the mainstream; it's kind of shining out.
Well, as a historian on the show, how many times has Star Trek been discovered? Because it seems to kind of go
47.
47 times.
Yeah.
79 episodes. As people lose it, then it appears on.
Well, then when Next Gen hit big after Best of Both Worlds, like third season, fourth season, it became huge, and then the spin-offs, and then everything else, it created a swarm that then all of its spin-offs got lost in the 90s and the aughts boom. And now it's been, fallow here the last 10, 12 years, but the Kelvin timeline.
Yeah, of course.
Bad Robot movies from Paramount have done a lot for it, but the new series is coming out from, I was talking to somebody from CBS All Access, and Brian Fuller, showrunner. I was talking to somebody about the Comicon level, not the Trek convention, smaller things, or the biggest of the smalls, but the massive Comicon movement the last few years, Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm going to be really curious to see how Brian Fuller's out-of-the-box, quirky sensibility that's kind of cultish, but when you take that and bring him back to Star Trek, where he started.
It's exciting.
I'm waiting to see how that penetrates the Comic-Con, the 15 to 25 demographic, and see how that penetrates, because that's what people have been waiting for, is unless you were a kid raised up by Trek parents, there's not as many of them finding Star Trek, and when they do, people love it. But I'm just wondering to see this mass level of Comic-Con-ness, the cosplay and all of that. What
is this going to look like in 10 or 15 years? What we're doing here at Comic-Con. Worldcon, I think, is that the biggest convention? Is Worldcon?
Well, there've been LitCon. I say LitCon, sci-fi literature, the writers and artists, and that kind of thing has been around since the 30s.
Yeah.
And then the first Star Trek convention, there was no such thing as a MediaCon, much less Comic-Cons, until that first Star Trek convention in '72. Yeah. And comic conventions were a little thing, but that was like old guys going through their boxes of, bad comics back then. I mean, that's what a Comic-Con was truly a comics con.
Yeah, it was actually comic book stores showing up and trying to sell you their old crap.
Yeah, it was flea market comics is what it was. But Star Trek created this media thing with media fandom, and then soon there was Star Wars and, Doctor Who and all the other spin-offs, and now we have this behemoth, and Star Trek reinvented. But again, it was that template, but it's unlike everything else, it's the core and the optimism, unlike all the other, and it's us, unlike, and Star Wars is plenty optimistic, but that's a long time ago, galaxy far, far away, where Kirk or any character will say, Caesar, Napoleon, Hitler, Lee Kwan, and suddenly you go, it's our history into their future. So
yes, well, again,
it's us.
Girls, I'm sorry, we're talking over you. But there's a psychological difference between Star Trek fans and Star Wars fans, isn't there? I mean, the approach is differently to the fandom.
Are you like trying to buy into that mainstream media meme of this Wars versus Trek conflict?
No, not
Is
at
that
all.
what you're doing?
No,
too?
we're hitting the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. And I just
no, I
think
mean there's
the
some
philosophies
of that,
are
but
different.
I hear so many people. Well, it's not. I mean, in some ways, but people talk about how since it's the optimism underlying, whether you're a tech nerd or a canonista or you cosplay or whatever it is, you build models or you just like the shows.
Yeah.
The underlying optimism is different with Trek than everything else.
Trek allows you not to have to do dishes.
And they're in the is the
Is where you
philosophy.
get me as a fan.
Replicators.
Yes.
See, it's got something for everybody. Freeing you from drudgery.
And food, all the food you can eat for free.
Yes, out there. Yeah.
It's atoms.
Just atoms. That's all it is.
That's
Up and
all
down,
atoms.
together, apart.
Which kind of leads the question is, how did they get fat aliens if everything was off of a replicator? Couldn't they control the caloric content?
Well, it's kind of like, why are people still bald? Well, no one cares. So, if you're talking about like Tellarites or Ferengi or something, that's just their way.
Their way.
That's our prime directive in action there. If you want to be short and squat, you can. Otherwise, you're genetically engineering things, and that's a bad thing in Star Trek.
we learned that from Ricardo Montalban.
That and the whole rich Corinthian leather that he had all over the Botany Bay.
Welcome to Fantasy Trek. He was great in that role, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, and those were his pecs,
Yeah, he was.
which he loved to say.
Yeah,
And
he came back. He was in his 60s when he did the Wrath of Khan, and he still looked good.
Yeah. And he loved doing that because it wasn't Fantasy Island. He was like really starting to feel like, oh my God, I have to do this for the next 20 years.
Yeah, I did the interview with him for one of the movies. I was a Spy Kids movie, and he said, that is the hardest thing to do is the monologue where you it's just exposition. I said, I do that every week, and how to make that sound different and appealing. He said it was the worst job I've ever had doing something like that.
That's set up in the intro.
Yeah, this
teaser.
is Larry Nimicheck, and he's a Star Trek fan. And it was just like every week it was the same, almost the same lines going on.
He's here on vacation, but he's secretly tracking down the father of his mother's last dentist. who was-
Lover.
But little does he know that he's about to find it,
Now, Trekland has been around for a while.
Well, I wound up doing so many things rather than look like Jack of all trades, master of none. I just came up with this umbrella. And I'd say, well, I work in Trekland because, I'd write books and edit National Magazine and consult on museums and tours and then later on do acting in fan films.
By the way,
some
you
commercial
never
stuff.
called me for any consulting work.
I'm
just saying.
If I had some to,
You never share.
it's kind of crumbs to begin with, Tony. It's not exactly.
I know you go into these things. What would Tony do? And then it just
Yeah.
yeah.
WABTD, yeah.
What was the last museum you helped out with?
Well, I was on the board of Houston's museum for
yeah?
a couple of years, yes. But the one I go to is when the experience was being built.
Yeah, in Vegas.
In Vegas, yeah. And that was the last huge, big, standing permanent thing. It was thrilled to be able to go in and help with the museum, the placards. And then when the one time they got to update, we updated for Enterprise and brought new panels into the timeline and did that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
But you're a consultant on the books. There's a couple of Star Trek history books, and I know.
Well, and now we're in the era of like the DVD podcast or the DVD, like the documentary add-ons, and I've gotten to go in and do work on a lot of those. Be a talking head.
Denise Crosby had done a couple of very interesting documentaries about Trek. Trekkies.
Oh, the Trekkies stuff. Yeah.
And
Got to know Roger Nygaard, who was one of the producers.
She went to a convention that I was actually at. It was like in Colorado, and it was. She really is a very funny person. I mean, people think that she's a little serious, but she's very funny about her stint with the Next Generation as Tasha Yar, and how they even brought her back. I think it's a very funny story about that.
It kept bringing her back.
Yeah.
What dead person are you going to be now?
Yeah, exactly. Whose life are you taking over? Which is, I've always wanted to ask Gates McFadden that.
But see, we're talking about actors, and they're awesome. But the thing that I found myself gravitating to in doing the Next Generation companion book, which all these kids keep coming, this is my best Christmas present ever, when I was 8 or whatever. But the background people,
Yeah.
and the writers, producers, the designers, those guys.
Yeah.
Because if you're a fan, you're attracted to the sparkle, and the first time you go to a convention, you love seeing actors, and they're charismatic, and they tell their
Right.
great stories, but if you're a fan of anything long enough, if it sustains your interest, you start going, you realize that there are people that gave them lines to say and built the sets they walk around in, and the props to hold, and the cool ships that are not really there, but they're someone's imagination. And all those people I really love that because there's an underdog streak in me anyway. And I love getting those people their due and their time out. So writing books like The Companion and doing when I was editing Communicator and the fact files and all that stuff. And what I do now with my Trekline and my blog and the video chats we do and Portal 47, my new fan experience that I launched, is getting those people's voice out. Because it's like the actors are wonderful, but if you really care about the shows, the reason they're the way they are is because of writers and designers and those people, producers.
You know, back in the day when we were doing conventions, we did a few out here in Salt Lake City, and
I heard that.
Yeah, you were at a few.
That's how I heard.
Don't try to deny it. I have pictures. But there was a point where you felt like it was all dying out. You felt like, another year, and they're going to just not have them anymore. And it got stronger after a while. But there's every weekend. There's something going on someplace in the world that's a wonderful convention somewhere. And you've been around the world doing this, haven't you?
In Europe. I haven't had the privilege to go over to Asia yet, but I keep hoping to, or Australia.
They
But
love
a
it.
lot of, yeah.
Yeah, they love what Trek's about.
Right.
Well, that's because just like the 5-year mission, it got extended a little bit.
Well, no, it's about. Just sit back.
That was
Just
a
sit back.
good joke.
CiCi.
I want what's in her water.
I know she's. It's funny water. It's about the philosophy of the show again. It boils down to this could be a future that we all should share in, and I think people really do like that.
Oh, right, and it catches up. What's funny is, like, now the biggest foreign markets are Australia, England, and Germany, and they've been that way since the 80s. And it's just thanks to the movies, they've been really working on the world box office and the internet, and just the globalization of media has helped spread that. But those first countries where it's the most popular and has been for ages were the places where when they first sold Star Trek as a syndicated series and stripped it was the places where they would run it as an adult show. Most countries would run it in whatever their Saturday morning equivalent was, and they would treat it as a kiddie show. And it was kind of stilted it, but that's why some of these countries, it's been so big for years, and others, like you think Japan and Asia, it's only been recently that they've gotten.
Yeah, they found it.
Big.
So
yeah,
to speak.
they found it on a big scale.
So, what is your next big thing? Portal 77 is. I'm sorry, 46.
That was Sunset Strip, 77 Sunset Strip.
Your T-shirt's all wrinkled.
You know this. You know the legend of the 47, right?
I do, yes.
Which isn't even the Star Trek thing, but it became a Star Trek.
It became a Star Trek thing.
Yeah, the most common random number in the universe is 47. Did you
I thought
know
the
that?
answer to life itself was 42.
It is.
Okay.
And then I think no less than Rick Berman once said that 47 was 42 adjusted for inflation, which I still think he had a right.
I think we're losing money on it.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about Portal 47.
No, Portal 47 was me being tired of 10 years of people saying, all these things you've seen and people you should do something with that. And outside of just books and magazines and interviewing and now even podcasts and punditry and all that, it's bringing fans, and a lot of them don't get to be able to go to conventions. They're out in the boonies somewhere, or they don't have the means otherwise. But it's basically, it's giving every fan their own center seat, no matter where they live, their own mini con all year long. It's using the power of the internet and conference call systems and having like an 8-point package. It's a monthly subscription.
Wow.
And I bring a lot of those people out. Some of it's from my memories and my archives, but also just the people, my Rolodex of people that worked on Star Trek.
Wow.
And it's experiences and voices and insights. I mean, it's everything from stand-ins and stunt people and actors to a lot of the designers and crew people that people haven't heard from, who have all kinds of insights.
Is it the world of Star Trek, or is it just Star Trek the original series?
No, it's all, yeah.
All Star Trek.
And it's easier to find people from the latter series, but we talked to Andrea Weaver, who was the woman's costumer from second and third season of the original series,
Wow.
if you can believe it. It was sort of like second job in Hollywood. She was 22, and she's still blowing and going and is awesome. But
And did Star
people
Trek
don't know these
costumes.
people. These people haven't been heard from.
Wow.
If it is an alien, cinch the waist. If she is on board, make it a silhouette.
The hell does that mean?
Because if you notice the women in the Star Treks, if they were aliens, they had that cinched waist, big boobs, long hair look, like Greek goddesses of different forms. But if they were on board, they had more of the silhouette when it was thigh. Thigh was the look. You see thigh and silhouette.
On board, like they were in a Starfleet uniform?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See? I paid
It's the
attention.
Starfleet look.
I watched it.
Everybody's got their own thing, Tony. Everybody's got their own angle.
Their own deal.
That's why it's such a massive audience, because everybody found something different.
I don't know. I enjoyed the phasers.
I would like out of Star Trek is to know why Uhura and Spock were not together later on. I want
Are
that.
you like tipsy?
No. We're talking Star
You're scaring both
So are
Larry
you
and me.
talking like prime timeline, or are you talking like the Kelvin timeline? That's my
Yeah,
anal
I
fan
don't
voice.
get that deep into it, but like in the new movies, like you find out that they
Kelvin.
had
Okay, the JJ verse. Yeah,
to
okay.
me, Kelvin is a degree,
That's right.
and so
That's why it wasn't a great name for the timeline. But yeah.
So maybe they were counting on it being hot. I don't know. But why I would like to see more of them, like in, because I know like Worf and Diana in one universe were married, and Data in another universe somehow gets to be more personified. But I want Spock.
You want Star Trek to be a chick flick?
I want Spock to go populate with Uhura instead of other rock.
He only has sex once every 7 years.
That's a misnomer, Tony.
No, I know.
He could do it whenever he damn well wanted to.
Because he's half human.
It's just driven to do or die every 7
Yeah,
years.
well, that's true.
We
all are.
That's just the
Every
60s
7 years.
publicity guys trying to make you think that.
Yeah,
That's what that was.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you're saying that they didn't do anything with the relationship. Well, they had broken up in the movie. There was no relationship.
But he's tracking her with the necklace. They're still in love.
Well, it comes back around to that. There's meaningful glances at the last scene.
I think stalking is wrong, even for a Vulcan.
Even when it's logical, stalking is not.
Yeah, I have to know where you are, honey.
Oh, well, it's logical, then it's okay.
Because
Yeah.
Spock said it.
He said it with.
It is not in our custom to receive gifts back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite episode of the original series?
Oh, Journey to Babel and Doomsday Machine.
Really? Mine, I think, is a mock time and the one with Edith Keeler. Return? Is that Return?
City on the Edge of Forever.
City on the Edge of Forever. Those two speak to me.
I like
don't know
the
why.
one with
one
the
where
salt
you
monster.
That's the first one.
First aired.
Yeah, first aired
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Historian.
No, I was going to say they weren't done in
It was
order.
the pilot episode
Yeah, it wasn't even the first two pilots.
with Ron Howard's ugly brother.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was done. Now, come on,
It was-
judgmental.
he's-
Where's your Idic there? What are you,
What am I Idic?
ugly brother?
That's
he had his own series.
the
for that a
Idic
couple
is where
years.
Star Trek jumped the shark.
Gentle Ben. They called it.
We could sell these. It's like almost 3D. Dr. House's 3D, Dr. Tung's 3D House of Star Trek.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Second
go back.
Planet. You go back to Second
Second
Planet.
City. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right. But I'm yelling too because I'm angry. A mock time I liked.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No, I have like a top
I feel
5,
bad
10.
now.
I just loved William Wyndham and Decker and the character, and I just thought
Yeah,
that was
they
a
brought
great,
Decker
and he used
back.
the whole cast.
They brought
and
him back in the first
The best
movie.
McCoy scene in the series.
Jim.
Yeah.
Well, you
I'll
were
certify
McCoy.
that right now.
You
What?
did a couple of episodes with Vic as Dr.
Yeah.
McCoy.
Yeah, to start off with.
Yeah.
And those
Just
were
to help him out.
awesome. And
And you're a great actor.
yeah, well,
The Academy
it
has
came on.
certainly
It came like right at this time when I got
passed
to
you
do
by.
the stellar cartography maps. I'm like, yes, on 3 weeks' notice. Yes, I'll do this, but just tell me it won't be in January. Yep, that's when we're filming. So,
Yep.
No, I can't mess this other thing up. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But no, that was great. And then I've stayed on as a creative consultant, which means James Kerwin, who's kind of the directing
I
head director,
know.
calls me at 1 in.the morning and says,
Little
Larry, what do
Jimmy
you...
Kerwin.
Little Jimmy Kerwin. I knew him when.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Larry, what do you think Tellarites think about women? Like equality of the sexes. Do you think they're sexist? Well, we can explore this a little, which if you've seen
Wow.
the new episode,
I have seen the
that's
new
a core
episodes.
thing, right, yeah.
The only one I haven't seen is the one that was
Lots of wacky
premiered
things.
yesterday. I didn't see that.
Oh, okay. Well, it's out
But
there
I'm
now.
caught up.
And we figured out how to resolve the Orions from Enterprise with the Orions from original series.
Really?
Very easily, yeah. In fact, I said something, McCoy goes, and Vic said, I said, why does anyone have to be a slave to anybody? And Vic said, that's such a great line, I'm going to have it be a McCoy line. So yeah. Why does anyone have to be a slave? So that's in Lolani, yeah.
Wow.
The second one I did.
So you have no sign of slowing down, really?
Well, we live in this, there was a time when you could go and be these things in big boxes. In the last 10, 12 years, the world's changed. The internet and everything is uprooted, and it was a fallow time for Trek, but Trek's coming back. And it's kind of like one of those, it's not go west, young man. It's like, go have a blog and a website, young man. That's what Horace Greeley would say today. Get off my lawn and go start your own thing.
Horace wasn't all there, by the way.
He was all back east. He stayed east.
He stayed with. I'm comfortable here. I went to the railroad.
Weed out the patch.
No.
But no. So Portal 47 is under my Trekline brand, and remastering my interviews from the 90s and aughts with these people sitting down in their offices. These not soundbitey things.
You've done some
CDs
great interviews. Who was the one that was most surprising to you? Who surprised you the most?
Well, a lot of my interviews were like archival. We were going to sit here for an hour and talk and do that.
And then we're going to use it for
do that. I mean, one that's just become relevant again, and the people that have passed away, I'm just like, it's amazing to have some of those moments with those people, Michael Piller and Rick Colby and Bob Justman. But the one that's kind of come back around is when Brian Fuller, who's in the news now for doing the new show and his recent series he's done, when he was baby writer the first year. Yeah, baby writer. His first year as a pro, the 4th season of Voyager, and the first time we talked. And he had a lot of episodes that he had credit on were kind of a little, I would say morbid, but they had death as it. I said, so what is this thing with death? And he was talking about how he was a reformed, former Catholic,
right.
And all that, and he wasn't. And it was the '90s, so he wasn't out of the closet yet. He wasn't outwardly gay, and now nobody cares. But back then, so he was talking about how he had been raised Catholic and all this stuff. And he said, "But yeah," he says, "I have a thing about death." He says, I don't want to hit over the head, but I said it's kind of as a theme because he'd written some of the Mortal Coil where Neelix has a crisis of faith because he's dead for a moment and he didn't have his and these wacky things where he's playing with that. And ever since he did. Especially Pushing Daisies and Hannibal.
Right.
So I can see that. So I'm just wondering what kind of little thread of death is going to weave through Discovery.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's one that's come back to mind all out the last few months.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And where are you off to next? You're going to go home for a while or what?
Yeah, this has been an insane year with everybody partying for the 50th, which has been awesome. And
we're lucky to get Shatner out here for the 50th.
I think he crammed 3 conventions this weekend. Yeah,
well,
or 2 or 3 in.
God bless him for doing all these for free.
I think that man, if he ever
he just gives.
You almost assumed that, right, Pat?
He's a giver.
Yeah, he's a giver. He's a giver. No, I think he's just wound up. He's 84, 85. If he ever stops moving, I think he'll keel over.
Well, I don't think so. I actually think he's a robot.
That's what I know. Yeah. They've gradually replaced one part at a time until we have the technology.
Yeah, he's more machine than human.
Yeah.
But yeah, but he's a. When you get Shatner in a great mood, he's delightful. He is just like everybody's uncle, and he's crazy fun. Even at 84, 85, he's got such a great wit to him, and Nimoy was like that too. I loved Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
And we sure miss, from the original series, James Doohan and of course, DeForest Kelley, Grace Lee, great people. And we'll never see those people again, and certainly not in a situation like that.
That's why film and even audio now is kind of precious. And a lot of those people who weren't as famous and like Bob Justman, but Gene Coon he died in the 70s and didn't live to see any of this happen. Anybody who was associated with his life, I love to talk to them to get glimmers of what he was like, because he was like a machine. He's a lot like Michael Piller and a lot like Manny Cotto. He could just sit down and going in my office. I have a script to do. Boom, and get it done in a day. Yeah.
Yeah, he was driven for his work, and it also buoyed him.
Yeah.
Too. I knew Bob Justman a little bit, and in fact, Bob came over to my house and we cooked spaghetti together. That's how my conventions we made home.
And sauce all in his big mustache.
And he came with Herb Solo.
Oh, that was when they were promoting their book?
Yeah,
When they were-
and so he came, and I had the wives over, and we were all in the kitchen cooking. I should have had a camera because that was a fun time.
Oh, Tony, we didn't all have cameras on our phones.
No,
in those
and
days. Yeah.
why didn't we? Damn it! Somebody should have just taped one on a phone. We didn't even have cell phones
We
back
were
then.
young and foolish, Tony. We didn't know.
Wow, pagers were brand new. Wow, look. This can annoy people in theater.
They can find
They don't
me.
know what annoying is
Damn
like.
it, they
Just
can
wait.
find me.
Wait what we have for them next.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see you, though. It's now like I get to see you like once every year. And before I saw you, I think the last time I saw you before this was we had lunch at Hooters.
That's right. In
You
Burbank.
did in Los
Burbank.
Angeles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're my Salt Lake City treat.
Yeah. and
Kind of like Rice-A-Roni, only different city.
I'm the guy you call when your car breaks down on the way through. I got a flat. Who do I call? Can I come over for dinner?
Right.
Yeah. And
Can I have the Bob Justman spaghetti? I'll
do you-
have that.
From the old days, do you see Lolita? Do you see? Does
Oh, yeah,
everybody
yeah,
get together?
Yeah, well, on crossing paths at conventions, but once a year we go and she's in the Bay Area and we go up and
I
have a
miss
good
her
visit.
to death. I really do. She's such a great person. Lolita was the scripts consultant.
Yeah,
For
Lolita
Eric
Foster.
Stillwell and those guys.
Yeah.
Eric just sends me pictures of random things now. Like, here's me with a Mars bar. You know, okay.
Here's me sitting by our pool. Here's me
Yeah, here's
raking
feet.
leaves.
Yeah.
Here's me. Yeah. No.
Eric has such a big heart, though. He's a really good
He
guy,
is.
and the Okudas, they're just great people. So, visit.
Star Trek family is a huge thing, and all these people. I was thinking like a month ago, somewhere out there are 8 or 9 people, actors, who have no idea how their lives are about to change.
Exactly.
When they get cast in this new show.
Usually they sit down by Patrick Stewart or William Shatner and say, okay, now when you go to the conventions, do this. I remember leaving the set one time for the Next Gen, and there was a soda machine. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's this Pepsi machine. And somebody had
Well, I know
just put,
Pepsi in a machine. Yeah.
Well, but then somebody had put the sign on it that said, the choice of the next generation. See,
Yeah. That was a big.
It was a joke.
Must have been the 90s, huh?
Yeah,
Or the 80s.
I hate
even.
the
Yeah,
90s.
yeah.
They're no good for me. Larry, tell us where to find you again.
Oh, well, LarryNimicheck.com. My website's going to
Spell
hold new
that
look.
for the listeners.
Nancy Edward, Michael Edward, Charles Edward King.
You just made it way too hard.
So N-E-M-E-C-E-K.
All right.
LarryNimicheck.com is the hub for everything. And at Larry Nimicheck on Twitter and Larry Nimicheck's Trekland on Facebook.
Do you write fans back when they write you? Ask
Of
you
course
questions?
I do, yeah.
Are you snobby?
No, I'm not snobby.
I just asked.
We're all one big happy fleet, Tony.
Yes. Yes, we are.
Yeah. No, I'm very excited about Portfolio. It's like I've been waiting 6-8 years to do this, and I've had an entrepreneur coach help me get this together.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah.
So go down, visit your table again, and have a nice glass of Trognac.
Trognac.
Yeah, I'm from Boston.
Is that Trognac? Blood
Trognac.
wine put together
It's
or
diet
something?
Trognac.
Oh, okay. That's what it is.
It's just like Trognac, only half the calories.
Well, happy 50th, Tony. It's
Yeah.
here from we're recording this. It's just next
Happy
week.
50th Star Trek to you. It is
It's-
this week.
It is this week. It's
The
coming up.
Star
Yeah,
Trek
we're going to
premiere.
have just a very little. We're going to toast on the half hour every time zone at Lucy's across from Paramount. Have a
And always have a
meetup.
drink when the red shirt dies. That's always good.
That no one will ever stagger out of the door. if we do it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the point.
Well, thanks for
That's the
tuning in,
point.
everybody. And as Larry said, just talking off into the sunset. It's great. I love you, Larry. I really do.
I love you too, Tony. Keep on trekking.
Keep on trekking. I'm Tony Toscano.
I'm the forgotten CiCi Chambers.
Well, Star Trek is a man show.
No, I did not say that.
No.
CiCi, it's been lovely to get to know you here.
Thank you.
Get to know him better later.
I can't. You said pilfer him.
Set your phaser to love.
And not disrupt. Okay.
Kirk out.
The Talking Pictures podcast is produced by Talking Pictures Productions. Produced by CiCi Chambers. Find us at www.talkingpictures.tv. Talking Pictures podcast distributed by Geek Factor Radio. Also on SoundCloud, Libsyn, and iTunes. Music and sound effects provided by bensound.com. A movie podcast should have more than just rolling on about the recent movies. It should also have stories, background, maybe hosted by an Emmy Award-winning movie critic. We have that on the Talking Pictures podcast.